This is the Warriors Summit.
Hey. Wow.
Well, are we at a crossroads? Are we going to see you at the crossroads or not? That actually is the question right now. Buon Vino, Walnut Creek, thank you. And thank you to all of you fine people for coming out here to see us. Vontae and Joe are here. Steiny and Goo and JD, Willard and Dibbs, we are all here. And the question on the table is this. Steve Kerr said it directly to me and you. Whoop! Right before Game 5. He said that Steph and Clay and Dre still have many years to come as a championship core. He said, I played on the Last Dance teams, and you knew that those teams were done. This is not done. So, do we agree? Do the Warriors still have, under contract and in their room right now, a championship core? Vontae?
No, they don't.
What do you think?
No, they don't.
Well, can I ask a question?
Oh, you want to ask me a question?
No.
You want me to ask this question?
No, because every single one of you keeps bringing up the youngsters. Did the youngsters play in Game 4 in the crucial minutes? Or was it Draymond Green that threw the ball away? Was it Klay Thompson clanking at the beginning of each one of these games and not defending a single soul? Like, why are we afraid to point out the obvious? I'm serious. Why are we so scared?
I guess.
Why are we so scared?
I guess I'm misunderstanding.
I love those guys.
I'm misunderstanding.
But they came up short.
I'm misunderstanding where the point is coming from.
The point is that we've spent 20 minutes talking about young players, and we're avoiding the real conversation. Clay and Dre didn't play good enough.
So that is what this.
It's okay.
So that's what this conversation is right now. If your answer is no, then let's hear it. Bonte,
That's
you say
my
no.
answer. No.
Okay.
Shasky, you see what we deal through? This is why I get mad at him at 6 in the morning. I love you. I love you. But Shasky's right. We blame the 3-7 start. Oh, the youngsters, they weren't ready to play. But last time I checked, down in Miami, South Beach, they scored 2 points in the last 5 minutes. It was Andrew Wiggins, it was Stephen Curry, it was Draymond Green, it was Klay Thompson alongside Jordan Poole. You lose down in Orlando. Who got the ball stolen from them in the last 5 minutes? We're scared to criticize the guys who have helped us win banners. Curry wasn't great, but Draymond and Klay Thompson wasn't great either. Now I want to start with Draymond Green because that's the decision that has to be made. I get it. He has an opt-in clause, but with all the noise, especially this last season, and Draymond Green and Steve Kerr after the season said, yeah, the punch in the preseason affected the way we played this year. I couldn't get my voice back. Well, Draymond, you were the cause of it. Draymond Green, you're the greatest defensive player, self-acclaimed greatest defensive player of all time, right? Well, where were you checking AD and LeBron James when it came down to it? Because one of those guys were on the floor at the same time, and you did not guard them at the level that we're used to seeing you guard. So if you can't get buckets in this league, because this whole misnomer that championships or defense wins championships in the NBA. Last time I checked, getting buckets gets championships in the NBA. Buckets gets. So you need guys who can get buckets, and Draymond Green's not even being guarded. Look at the Denver Nuggets. Look at the Lakers. Look at the Miami Heat and the Celtics. All 5 guys on the floor can score, or at least be a threat to score. You can no longer win championships the way they won them before. So I think the biggest decision is Draymond Green, and I think maybe him moving on finally will be the best for the Golden State Warriors moving forward. The youngsters get way too much of the blame when they barely played the playoffs.
Shasky, what do you want to add to that?
Well, no, I think Draymond's the double-edged sword. Like, you love him at times, and at times he drives you completely crazy. And the reality is, I can't unsee Game 3. Game 3 against the Kings, when Draymond didn't play, and Steph dropped near 40, and dished out 8 assists, and everybody played well, and the ball was hopping around, and Kevon Looney gave me some of the elements offensively as a passer that Draymond Green did. I'm not saying that they're not going to miss Draymond at some point down the line, but to pretend that they can't subsidize some of his production with a combination of other players, I think that's false.
Well, another thing Steiny said something last week, folks, and he was right spot on. Are you a championship contender? He was spot on.
You're giving Steiny love?
I give Steiny a lot of love.
Hey, let him go.
Steiny, listen. He said, can you win a championship with Draymond Green?
More and more people are doing that.
Hey, I'm doing it. He said something. Draymond Green, can he help you win a championship? They all say we can't win a championship without Draymond Green. Well, can you win one with them? You didn't make it out the second round of the playoffs this year. And you can reset your books a little bit here by moving off of that. I think Draymond kind of ruined the season, personally.
Guru, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? Because I have a feeling that you at least of everybody up here, I might be right there with you, but you might have the most disagreement with what they're saying right now.
No, I agree. I've been saying this. Every great run comes to an end. And Draymond Green, I can take nothing from him. But it's time for I got Apple phone. It's time for a software offense update by the Golden State Warriors. And Vontae is right. He is not scoring the ball. They have ran their course. And you went up against the Sacramento Kings, and we all want to say, oh, it was great coaching. But they made you go to the too big lineup. They made you realize you're shooting yourself in the foot. And Draymond, I love you, but offense is what they need. And now that Steph and Clay are getting a little older, they're not perfect from deep. They need another option to throw the ball in to a guy that can give you some body punches or get buckets down low. And the last thing, to Vontae's point, he's right. Draymond Green was not guarding Anthony Davis. He was not guarding LeBron James, and they didn't put him on Lonnie Walker IV when he went Dwayne Wade. So to me, this is no shade at Draymond Green, but it's also shame on all of you that believe Steph Curry cannot flourish without Draymond Green. And I argue with this man.
Does Steph Curry believe you?
Hold on. JD, what do you think?
Well, my question is, does Steph Curry and Steve Kerr and the Warriors organization believe that they can win without the big three? Because they've told us for the last 2 weeks that they don't think they can. So
Correct.
If they don't believe it, it's almost irrelevant that we think, like, what are we going to do? We're going to go say, hey, Steph, guess what? We know you'd rather have Draymond, but it's time to move on. Like, get over it, pal.
Well,
like, you're still good enough. We believe in you.
But the proof is in the
you
pudding.
Don't believe in that.
That's just talk right now.
But what's the elixir to that?
Well, here's the other thing. If you want Draymond to leave,
go ahead, JD.
if you want, and that's fine. Like, if it's time to move on from Draymond Green, the question though becomes, well, how do you get better if Draymond Green is gone? They're stuck between a rock and a hard place in the sense that their best chance to be as good as they've been and get better is to keep what they have, because if he leaves, there's no way to take that spot and replace him with anything.
You can't get better.
So
what about the oxygen?
I agree
what
with you.
about allowing the place to breathe a little?
Hold on. I agree with you, and I agree with them, because there's a reason that in every NFL city the backup quarterback is so damn popular, because you can't blame them for anything. So for you guys to say, hey, the young guys didn't mess up, yeah, has to even go out there and play. So maybe you might be right, but the best thing that we could say is that you might be right, because we haven't even seen these guys play. So to take that out on the guys who are actually putting it out there and have a resume and did it as recently as 11 months ago, I just think you have to be real careful in putting all your faith into a bunch of people who have never done it and may never do it.
May not be those guys.
Draymond, though, does deserve to be held accountable.
Criticism,
That's all.
Sure.
Like, let's.
That's fair.
And I don't want anything that I said. Like, hey, they're kind of stuck, and they need to keep him to be. Hey, he doesn't have to be held accountable.
JD, what would Pat Riley do? Pat Riley's about to go to another finals with a random team. What would Bill Walsh do? What would Pat Riley do?
What would Jerry West do?
Cutthroat.
He'd cut Draymond Green, and he'd miss the playoffs for 3 or 4 years in a row.
And that's what you want.
About that.
And then, that's what you want. All right.
They've done it. The last 4 years.
This is
done it.
Warrior Summit, Juan Vino in Walnut Creek with the whole gang here at 95.7. Steiny. Well, now Steiny's good. Steiny, what do you think?
I thought we were going to break.
No, we're not going to break.
It's called a reset. Normally, in the middle of a segment, what you do is you reset the topic.
If you ever want to know how to lead a show, just ask Uncle
Willard. He stuck it to you.
Did you just touch my gavel again? No, Steiny, what do you think? What do you think?
Well, first of all, it was that man over there who once told me, you're not a real host. So
no, it was traditional.
There's nothing that you can say.
Let the legend grow, Google.
I need you to be a little more specific.
What do you think about what's being said here as to in terms of whether Draymond Green is actually the centerpiece of what's wrong, or if he's the centerpiece of how to fix it?
Yes.
Exactly. No, that is
the correct answer. It's a good answer. Good answer, Steiny.
The problem with the Warriors is that they can do one of two things. They can hold on to Clay and Draymond, pay them a little bit, and I don't even care how much it is, but they're getting worse. Or they could start to move off them right now, and they'll get worse. the team. So this is kind of the inevitable end of a dynasty. You had to overpay those guys to become a dynasty. You had to underpay everybody else. They're getting caught with their bench, too. They can't pay their bench players because the system is set up to not allow them to now. It's going to get worse. You just got to look in the mirror. That's all you got to do.
Well, you know what I've been wanting to ask you and before
Look in
we go
the
to
mirror,
tips? No, you know
Willard.
what I've been wanting? I do a lot. No, what I've been wanting to ask you with, because your tone for 6 days now has been they're hosed. They're up a creek. So you don't like any of the options.
Right.
But you got to pick one. So what would you do?
I think I would start to come off my guys. And Draymond Green has 1 year. It's an opt-in. I would say, Draymond, look, you, of all people, know the salary structure, the league, the business. We can't give you 3 years. We just can't. Okay, well, is he open to two for 50?
Ooh.
Well, he may be like, hit the pike. I can go to L.A. for 3 for 80. Then you have to say thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And, well, now next year, maybe Clay comes off at 42, 43. And see, I don't necessarily believe that the Warriors need Clay and Draymond to win it again in Steph Curry's cycle.
Well, who do they get?
I don't know.
And how do they
We don't
get
know
them?
that.
I mean, if you're
We don't know that.
Wait 2 years and sign Giannis.
Yeah,
Exactly. You can't get anyone in the next 2 years. That's the thing.
What I'm saying is I'm open to it.
Let's get dibs.
Okay. I'm very open to
Then what do
it.
you do the next 2 years?
You're screwed either way.
My issue is this.
That's 3 points.
So if you do everything for Steph Curry,
Tim,
does
turn
that
his mic
mean
off.
that means no, you can't touch Draymond? I don't believe the best for Steph Curry necessarily is. We've got to keep these both guys.
Get dibs in here because
I
Now
agree
I'm
with Steiny.
I mean, it's one of two courses. Either you keep the big three together and you believe that you can win with them, which, by the way, they've told you that they believe that they can win with the big three. Whether
you
or not
believe that?
No, of course not. But I'm not the one making the decisions. It's Joe Lacob and it's Steve Kerr.
What would
Steve
you
Kerr,
do?
What would I do?
Yeah.
I would say, Draymond Green, adios, see you later. I would tell Clay, if you want to stay, you get half pay after next year, and you would move forward. But that's not me making the decision.
your platform 15 minutes ago was trade Jordan Poole.
Well, that's because
Now you want it. Now
my
you want to
platform
go.
is to trade Jordan Poole because I know they're going to keep the big three. They're going to keep the big three. So if you keep the big three,
We know that for
then
sure.
you trade Jordan
What
Poole.
if a new
I don't
GM
know.
comes in? What if Bob Myers says, I'm going to take
It's
a year
not about
off?
the new GM.
And you get a new GM who says, you know what?
Dunleavy.
I don't want to come into the situation with this current core. Can I have the green light to make a couple moves like Brian Sabian did with the Giants? He came in and traded Matt Williams, who was a fan favorite, maybe the best third baseman in Giants history. Traded Matt Williams. The
Casey
fans went
Schmidt.
crazy.
I think this goes back to what
And he
Guru
got
was saying
Jeff
about
Kent.
Steph Curry. Steph Curry, I believe, wants to play with
I don't know if
Draymond
that new
Green.
GM's going to be married to the core.
This is something that worked earlier, and now we got an even bigger crowd, obviously. So let's let the crowd
look how
weigh
many
in on
people
this,
here.
okay? So by a show of noise, do you want Draymond Green on this team next year? Say yes.
Okay.
Do you want to move on from Draymond Green next year? That is interesting.
Sounds like Dub Nation agrees with certain people.
That is interesting. That is really
Now
interesting.
do Jordan Poole.
We did.
Everybody
We
wants
did.
Jordan Poole gone?
Yeah, I think everyone does.
Yeah.
I think,
Well,
and this is the other part. So, like, everybody keeps saying either or.
Joe
I'm listening,
Shasky. Go
I'm
ahead.
listening to Dibs talk about either or, which I think there's some to that. If I was running the team, both of them would be gone. I mean, I can't deal with either of you two right now. Take a hike. Like, I'm trying to win championships. You two are arguing about God knows what, and you sabotage my season, and I spent $200 million in luxury tax. I'd be furious if I was running this team.
But
and
how
if
do
I
you
was
get
Steph
rid of
Curry, I'd
Draymond
be-
Green? If Draymond
he
opts in, what are you going to trade him?
or sign and trade. If he signs with another team, there's only
if
so many teams
Draymond
with
is
cap
not
room.
going to get a deal, a 3-year deal, and they say, you know what, Draymond, we don't want to offer you a deal, then he says, fine, I'm out of here. They get nothing for Draymond.
Well, only if he goes to a place that's under the cap. Right now,
which is a lot of teams. The Lakers are under the cap. For example,
until certain things happen, and you never know what ends up happening.
The Lakers roster going into next year, they're well under the cap, and it feels like that would be where he would go.
But where does he fit with that roster?
Right,
like that
LeBron
Laker
wants
thing
shooters.
made sense before the trade deadline.
Right.
I don't know if it does anymore.
Doesn't LeBron want shooters around him?
LeBron can get shooters in February. Like this year, they got players.
So where does Draymond fit, though?
What was the Lakers in October versus what the Lakers were in February?
They'd probably move off of Vanderbilt.
So then they play Draymond 12 to 15 minutes a game? Because
he'd play more. I'm just saying that roster.
I agree with that. Do you know what I hear a lot? And Guru, jump in on this. What I hear a lot of what the Warriors should get rid of, and I don't hear a lot of what the Warriors should bring in.
Perimeter
it does
defense.
Not, but how do they do that? This is not an under the cap team.
I thought offense was the problem.
This is not a team that's got draft capital that they can go get. So a lot of you are speaking from a place of get rid of said person without any solution as to how you're going to give all of these fans something to look at next year. Guru.
But, and I'm passionate about this subject, we keep omitting the fact that they drafted James Wiseman. They drafted Jonathan Kuminga. They drafted Moses Moody. Jordan Poole should be able to step in for Klay Thompson. And knew how to do what Miami was doing with their youngsters and empower them. Jonathan Kuminga could be Draymond Green. And Bob Myers, if you're listening, you've been good to me. You've been good to all of us. But my partner today told me it ain't just on him. But those are 3 strikes that those kids aren't ready. This is a forum for them to step up. If you wanted to say 3 for 90 for 3 for Dre is too much for our blood. Jonathan, here we go. But Miami Heat, I'm watching, doing it with lesser.
Okay.
So this is a problem of player development that nobody's talking about, that the Warriors got 3 strikes on.
Steiny, you and I.
20.
Hold on.
No, Guru's right.
Yeah.
Guru's right. 29 teams have a player development issue. He's right.
Well, you and I have talked a lot about this, though, when you were talking at the beginning of the year about this whole 2 timelines thing. And it's not, Guru, that you're wrong. However, we've even seen it down in Santa Clara with the 49ers. The idea...
Oh, they're in trouble.
The idea that you can look at a clubhouse of winners, veterans, and tell them, sit here and go through the lumps with our young guys who we're going to try to bring up, is chasing clouds. It's not realistic life.
But they tried it, Mark.
You can't do it. It's not doable. Yes, they tried it. And what happened?
It's a fail right now.
So you can say that those were bad draft picks, or you can say it was bad timing for those draft picks. They ended up with what they thought was, hey, we're going to have our cake and eat it too, even though that's the stupidest phrase ever. And it's not really
I think Kuminga can play. I think Moody can play.
And maybe they can.
Jordan Poole can play.
Okay.
Can they play at a championship level?
Right.
They did last year.
Who?
Jordan Poole and Moody played in the Western Conference Finals.
Jordan was unplayable in the NBA Finals.
Well, we know why.
He played half the time.
Right, he got hit in the
face.
face.
Like he didn't need to be consistent last year for them to win it. As they get older, he's got to become more consistent. He became less consistent as the big 3 became less consistent.
I would push back on the Niner thing, too. They played 4 guys that no one had ever seen before. Aaron Banks at guard. They played Hufanga at safety. Like, they played a ton of young players. Football's different. Yeah. I get that. But they played a ton of young players and still won games.
Here's the thing. If you're good enough, you'll play.
Exactly.
Like, that's the like, if you're good enough,
Keegan Murray. Like, but you guys know the NBA.
People talk about Keegan Murray. Keegan Murray made more 3-pointers than any rookie ever.
No,
if the Warriors had Keegan Murray would be playing 30 minutes a game.
And Jordan Poole plays almost 30 minutes a game. It's not that, but you guys know in the NBA more than any other sport, it's based on a very few number of people.
But let me ask you this.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do we feel about the team, Steve Kerr, Draymond Green saying that what happened in the preseason ruined the whole season?
Oh, they're right.
Let's just be real.
No,
it ruined Jordan Poole. It ruined the development of youngsters. Draymond Green, who's been
team chemistry.
Kevin Durant, right? Remember the Kevin Durant situation? Yeah. We know how mad we were about that. Saying that Steve and Bob, it was their fault. What happened? The podcasting, LeBron, everything that goes with Draymond Green. I'm not ripping him. He's done what he's done. His number's going to be retired. He's going to be a statue guy. But when the team comes out and says, you know what, we maxed out.
No statue.
Yet the incident in the preseason caused all the turmoil this year. And then we couldn't do anything about it. And we didn't do anything about it. I feel like that guy has to go. You got to clear the air to get your culture
I
back.
agree.
Your culture's now fractured for the first time.
Hold on,
This
hold
entire
on,
game.
hold on.
If
Let's get
Jordan
Dips.
Poole goes, if Jordan Poole is gone, the culture is fine.
Jordan Poole got hit in the jaw.
I know.
How you just leave Jordan Poole? He's the victim.
Because Jordan Poole is not a good enough player to be a part of your core, and they believe in the core.
Is
three.
Draymond right
They
now good
believe
enough
that
to be part of the core?
They believe so. Yes, absolutely.
Dibs, do the
They won a
Warriors-
championship 12
Wiggins
months
is down
ago.
one
And
point.
he was
Hold on, hold on.
Green
Hold on.
Game
as a
4, they
part
had
of
to
the core.
bench him.
Sat on the bench
Game
against
2
many
against
voices.
the
Jordan
Mavericks.
Poole was
It's too many
unplayable.
Game 2 against the Mavericks, the best thing to happen was Draymond getting in foul trouble.
It's too many voices. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Do the Warriors
Gavel,
win it?
gavel.
They want
Do
the
the
gavel.
Warriors
Get the gavel.
win it last year without Poole?
No. Yes.
They do?
I don't think so.
Oh,
See, I think you're in the minority
chance.
there,
No
Dibs.
I don't think so.
No chance.
You, see,
I would
you
say
said
no.
that they
What
win
did
it with,
ask the audience?
Yeah.
Ask the
Okay,
audience.
yeah.
Do the Warriors win the championship last year without Jordan Poole?
Yeah.
No.
There they go.
There we go.
They might not beat
No.
Denver without Jordan Poole.
However, when we sit there with our
Game
hand,
1 against Memphis.
Bonte, when you sit there with your hand and point out all of the frustrating things that Draymond has done and it has led to, everybody in the room agrees. But you have to use the other hand to point to the 4 rings that don't happen without him.
Yeah, but that's yesterday. Sports
man.
moves
Isn't
forward.
that yesterday?
You know what I'm saying? Teams are always
Isn't that that
the Kansas
long
City
ago?
Chiefs
Yeah.
always trying to reload.
11
Good
months.
teams trying to reload.
So,
11
Willard, are
months
you
ago.
saying
Do the-
give him the 3
do the
for 90,
history.
whatever he wants?
Not 3 for no, of course not. Not whatever he wants.
Was
Not 3.
Draymond Green that player this year?
What's
was he
that?
that impactful? He was so impactful. Steve Kerr had to call him and say, Draymond, I need you to come off the bench in game 4. In a gotta-have it game against Sacramento, he came off the bench.
Second year in a
And he
row
did
in
it.
the finals. Don't forget against Boston. Whatever
Got
that
benched.
was, he had to come out for a little bit, and then they
Game
put him
4.
back in.
So we're mad at Draymond because
We're
he's
not.
coming
We're
off
just
the
saying
bench.
he's not that player
When
anymore.
Jordan Poole coming off the bench and giving you 0.
Well, there's a
giving you
reason.
0.
There's a reason. He went Mike Tyson punch out on him.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. No doubt. No
If not
doubt.
treated, it will linger. That's PTSD.
So, JD, here's my question.
Okay.
If the Warriors get Draymond back, whatever, it doesn't even matter, 2-3 years, 2 for 90, then how do they, then what? Because you know that the top 6, what?
Well, you have to look at trading Jordan Poole, and you have to look at trading Jonathan Kuminga, and you might have to look at trading Moses Moody, and you might have to.
But that gets you what?
and you might-
$35 million worth of salary?
I don't know.
But that's what they're all making.
I mean, yeah,
Approximately.
Poole would be 28 or whatever it is.
28
Kuminga's
plus 4 and
6,
4.
7.
Yeah.
I mean, you try to make that.
well,
you
like
try
not-
to get a really good player.
Not to get inside, but like, okay, they go that, they re-sign Draymond, now they want to trade Poole.
Yeah.
They got to take back either $140 million worth of salary, which they don't want to do,
Well,
or they're going to take 28, or a guy on a shorter deal.
Well, if they want to continue to try and win championships, they're going to have to continue to pay the freight.
What is the value of Jordan Poole right now,
freight.
JD? You follow the league. What's the value?
It's not what
Jonathan
it was.
Kuminga. So
It's
that's
not.
why when I see the trade for Jaylen Brown and Malcolm Brogdon.
Well, that's silliness. That's,
Yeah.
I
agree with
Why?
you.
It's not- Hold
Yeah,
on.
Mark, that's
Why? Why?
because the
You're
Warriors-
overpaying for getting rid of Wiggins. You need Wiggins.
Yeah, well, no.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Give me the trade
Wiggins.
again. Give me the trade again.
The trade is, and it does save you about $30 million in tax and salary. The trade is Jaylen Brown, who is even 25 yet, 26
Eligible
years
for
old.
Supermax.
Exactly. And it is Jaylen Brown and Malcolm Brogdon for Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga, and Andrew Wiggins. And tell you what.
Yeah, I don't think Boston would do that.
They may not. They may not. They very, very well may not. I'll tell you a little bit why it makes more sense than just player to player. And we got to get into Bob Myers. We want to hear from everybody.
Why? He's
with regard to Bob Myers.
Don't say that. You're
So
right.
we
Boston
do
ain't doing
that. They'll do that coming up
No
next.
way.
This is the Warriors Summit, and Juan Vino